saying, "Shouldn't be long until I can come home, my love." And he wrote, "To be honest, I had
By the
hoped
way,
to keep this secret
that is
till
so
I
crazy
died of old
because
age."
it almost
Another
feels
text
like
said, "I had
it's
planned to grab
mathematically
my
devised
rifle from
to
my drop point
implicate
shortly after, but
your
most of that
trans
side of
partner
town got locked
to make
down."
it seem
The
as though
roommate
they
asked
could
him
have potentially
why.
known about
Robinson's
this
answer
ahead
was,
of time. Utah County Jail is about to be live. It is live.
Good afternoon. My name is Judge Graff. I will be handling the first appearance calendar today. At the conclusion of the hearing, for the first case, the court will take all those who are scheduled for the first appearance calendar to log back in 15 minutes after the court has taken a recess. As a general note, no electronic usage is allowed unless pre-approved. Any disruptions will be removed. To the jail, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff. Mr. Skortis.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You're probably already aware of my presence or why I'm here, but if not, I am not entering an appearance. I'm not counsel on this case. I'm working with the county to get counsel assigned, but we need you to allow for the appointment of counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Skortis. I want to go through the qualifications for indigency, but that is my intent, Mr. Skortis.
Very well.
And I thank you for being here. So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you. I have reviewed your declaration of financial status and find that you are indigent. I'm provisionally appointing a Rule 8 qualified attorney to represent you on your case, Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8 and under Rule 8B and Rule 8C for counsel appointment in a case where death may be a sentencing option. I'm ordering that those declarations be filed prior to the next hearing date, which is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. Mr. Robinson, I also wish to inform you of your right against self-incrimination. Anything that you say in court today could be used against you, and we want to protect your constitutional rights. Mr. Robinson, at this time, you will remain in custody without bail. Mr. Skortis, is there any other points that you wish to address?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Turning to the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Chad Grunander for the state. I'm also joined, and they're listed as attendees, Ryan McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, and Chris Ballard. We are the trial team on this case. I do have a few points I'd like to bring up with Your Honor. We have filed a pretrial protective order on behalf of Erica Kirk. We would ask the court to review that. It should be in your queue, Your Honor, and sign that.
Thank you. I have reviewed the pretrial protective order and will be issuing this pretrial protective order in favor of Erica Kirk. Is there any other business that we need to address today, counsel?
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. So that should be in the court's file. Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Rule 16 requires us to provide what we have relied on in charging the information and bringing these charges within 5 days once it's requested. So that'll be prepared to disseminate to the defense as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Grunander. Mr. Robinson, what I also want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of, and I wish to read those to you at this time. Thank you. Mr. Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76.3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony, in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-11-210 sub 2 and 3C, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm and that the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent offense in the presence of a child. Count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or pursuant to any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, conceal or remove the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or a first-degree felony. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code 76-8-306 sub 2. In that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, with an intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or first-degree felony. Count 5, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-8-508, in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant.
Please read this for Chad, who has no idea what's going on. He is a lawyer that is about to be appointed. They're currently reading the charges. They will appoint him a lawyer after reading the charges. Someone also explain what he's wearing. I don't know. Is that like a stabbing vest or something?
Use or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony, information, a document, or an item to wit, directing his roommate to delete
like a suicide
incriminating
prevention
text
vest?
messages. Count 6, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-508 in that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, directing his roommate to stay silent if the police questioned the roommate. Count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.10 sub 2 and 76-3-203.14 sub 3a little double I in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, committed criminal homicide in the physical presence of a child younger than 14 years of age, with knowledge that a child was present and that may have been seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing, and I will be the judge assigned to this case. Mr. Robinson, I invite you to join us at that time. Is there anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor, we'll have counsel appointed by then. Thank you.
Mr. Gurander, anything further?
One item, just for clarification, Your Honor, the hearing on the 29th, is that in person or WebEx?
Thank you. That is a great question. It will be via WebEx.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right. I want to thank all parties for being here, and this concludes this hearing at this time. Court is in recess.
All right.
Standing by. James, that will not be in person, if I heard correctly, though.
Yeah, by WebEx, as that was, Gillian, that will be a virtual hearing. Interesting, the first time we have seen moving pictures since the arrest of Tyler.
Yes, I
Robinson,
covered the roommate text
silent,
messages. Yes,
wearing a bulletproof vest. Didn't show any emotion, really. Nodded an understanding when he was addressed directly by the judge, but was giving nothing beyond that. There has been a filing of an intent to seek the death penalty in all of this. That's the aim of prosecutors. Gillian, there was a news conference earlier on. We know a few things that we didn't before, details of the manhunt, the surrender, and there are clues behind motivation. Robinson's parents were told, well, they recognised him from images released by the FBI. His dad thought the description of the rifle matched one given to his son as a gift. So both parents tried to contact him. His dad was asking for a photo of the rifle, but Robinson didn't respond. Eventually, they made contact with him. When they did, he implied, we're told, that he planned to take his own life. They convinced him to come home. He said he couldn't go to jail, just wanted to end it, but they subsequently convinced him to turn himself in with the help of a family friend. Robinson's mother, she's told investigators that he had become more political, more to the left, and he was more pro-gay, she said, and trans rights oriented. She said he'd been dating his roommate, a male who is transitioning to female. When they asked his parents why he did it, a question asked of their son, he replied that there is too much evil in Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate, he told them. On the day of the shooting, Gillian, the roommate received a text from Robinson, and that said, drop what you're doing and look under my keyboard. There was a note there that read, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. He sent another text saying, shouldn't be long until I can come home, my love. And he wrote, to be honest, I had
By the
hoped
way,
to keep this secret.
that is
till
so
I died
crazy
of old
because
age.
it almost
Another
feels
text
like
said, I had
it's
planned to grab
mathematically
my
devised
rifle from
to
my drop point
implicate
shortly after, but
your
most of that
trans
side of
partner
town got locked
to make
down.
it seem
The
as though
roommate
they
asked
could
him
have potentially
why.
known about
Robinson's
this
answer
ahead
was,
of time.
I had enough of this hatred.
Like,
Some
the
hate
text
can't
messages
be
obviously
negotiated
show
out.
that the trans
James,
partner
thank
had
you
no
much on
clue.
that,
The back and
Charlie
forth
Kirk,
shows
the
that. The very fact that the trans
29th
partner has
of
been
September. Let's return now to
collaborating
Donald
with the
Trump's
authorities,
arrival in the UK
cooperating with
for
the
his
authorities from the
unprecedented
beginning.
second state visit as US president.
But it is
It's
such an
prompted a huge
insane
operation
way
in Windsor,
to
where Mr.
operate.
Trump will be welcomed. Sky's Rhiannon Mills has been taking a look at the final preparations there and has this report.
Like, on the one hand, being like, oh, I'm doing this because Charlie Kirk hates trans people. But then also on the other hand, being like, hey, by the way, you in this murder plan that I put together, it's so crazy. Like, you're just post hoc creating a situation where you're like post hoc making an accessory to crime. And it's the worst possible way to do it, because, like, if he had actually potentially told this person about his interest in assassinating Charlie Kirk ahead of time, then maybe they could have went to law enforcement and stopped it from happening. Do you understand? So, like, there's obviously, in the back of his mind, there was obviously this, like, potential discontent from the trans partner in general. And that's the reason why he hid the note, which is crazy. It's really weird to do such an effective setup to get away clean and then leave all these little clues to incriminate yourself too. Yeah. Is it over? Was he really left wing and we're taking this massive L right now? Crazy how it takes is one person on like the thousands of right wingers who've done similar atrocities. First of all, nothing is over. What do you mean? We're all taking this L right now. Like, did anything happen to a million in the aftermath of 1,000 high profile far right mass shootings where people specifically say, I love insert whatever right wing guy from Tim Pool all the way to Ben Shapiro? Did the federal government crack down on dissemination of information from the right, even when they themselves, in their own Department of Justice investigations, concluded that far-right anti-government extremism was responsible for the large share of domestic terror incidents on U.S. soil, or even the large share of political violence on U.S. soil as well? No, of course not. That's not how this works. Okay? That's not how this works at all. And it shouldn't work that way regardless, but it does not matter. The administration is still going to do their very best to turn this into a left radicalization leading to like unlimited violence situation, because it corresponds to the narrative that they were designing already. They already have been doing this in the aftermath of every high profile shooting incident, in the aftermath of every mass shooting. The government keeps saying this was a leftist, and the media keeps also responding to that narrative and highlighting that narrative. Minneapolis is one of the best examples of this. Either they just don't even cover it at all, like with the case with the Colorado shooter, okay, where the Colorado shooter that shot up his school and critically injured two schoolmates. An hour after Charlie Kirk was shot at UVU, it got very little coverage in the media, very little coverage in mainstream news. He was a far-right figure. That's precisely the reason why it got very little coverage in the media. And another high-profile incident at the Catholic school in Minneapolis was also blamed on transgender Antifa leftists. The shooter was not transgender. It was possibly a detransitioner, okay? But regardless, the shooter was far-right, a far-right white supremacist. And yet, they still claim that that shooter was a leftist. That dude literally posted names of prominent white nationalist, white supremacist terrorists all over his gear. All over his gear. A telltale sign that this person was a psycho Nazi, neo-Nazi. But it didn't stop people from lying about the shooter's profile and their background. This, to me, means that the truth doesn't matter at all to this administration. It just never mattered, and it does not matter